For almost his entire life, Vegeta believed there were only a few things about his childhood that mattered. He remembered the pride of being born into the Saiyan royal family. He remembered his father, King Vegeta, and the way the entire planet treated him as if his blood alone made him superior to every other Saiyan. He remembered being told that he was destined to become one of the greatest warriors his race had ever produced. He remembered Frieza. He remembered the destruction of planet Vegeta. He remembered being forced to serve the very being who had murdered his people. And eventually, he remembered Earth, Bulma, Trunks, Bulla, the strange life he had never expected to have. But there was one person Vegeta had never remembered at all, his mother. For years, nobody had ever given him a reason to question it. King Vegeta was the only parent he had ever spoken about. There were no photographs, no stories, no surviving records that mentioned her name, no childhood memory of her voice, nothing. Vegeta had simply assumed that she had died when he was young, and because Saiyans were never known for discussing emotions, he never asked where she had gone. But that changed when an image appeared that should have been impossible. It happened when Bulma showed Vegeta a newly circulating piece of Saiyan-related artwork. She didn't expect it to affect him. She was actually more interested in teasing him about the royal family portrait than discussing its historical importance. The image showed Vegeta standing with Bulma and their children, surrounded by the reflection of his Saiyan heritage. King Vegeta appeared in the background, and behind him was the faint silhouette of a woman. Her face was hidden, but her presence was unmistakable. Bulma looked at the image and casually said that the woman was probably Vegeta's mother. Vegeta didn't answer. He simply stared at the screen. Bulma noticed his expression immediately. She asked whether he recognized her. Vegeta said no. Then she asked whether he remembered anything about his mother. Again, Vegeta said no. Bulma expected him to dismiss the subject. Instead, Vegeta slowly stood up and walked closer to the screen. He stared at the silhouette for several seconds before saying something that made Bulma stop smiling. "I should remember her." Bulma asked what he meant. Vegeta said that he could remember things from when he was extremely young. He could remember the smell of the royal palace. He could remember the sound of his father's armor. He could remember the first time he was told that he was a prince. But whenever he tried to remember his mother, there was nothing. Not a blurred face, not a voice, not even a feeling. It was as if someone had taken the memories out of his mind. Bulma immediately became serious. She asked whether Saiyan technology could have caused something like that. Vegeta said no. Saiyan memory wasn't stored in some removable device. But then Bulma asked the more important question. What if someone had deliberately made him forget? Vegeta rejected the idea instantly. Nobody could have altered the mind of the Saiyan prince without his father knowing. Bulma reminded him that his father had been King Vegeta. Vegeta understood what she meant. If someone had erased his memories, King Vegeta would have had the power and authority to make sure nobody ever spoke about it. Vegeta looked back at the image. For the first time in decades, he felt something he hated admitting: curiosity. He wanted to know who she was. He wanted to know why he couldn't remember her. And most importantly, he wanted to know why nobody had ever told him her name. That night, Vegeta couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about the silhouette. Every time he closed his eyes, he tried to force his memory to produce something. Nothing came. Eventually, he went to the gravity chamber and began training. He increased the gravity, then increased it again. He pushed himself harder than usual, hoping physical exhaustion would silence the thoughts in his head. But the opposite happened. The harder he trained, the more one strange feeling returned. It wasn't a memory. It was something deeper, a sensation. He could almost feel someone standing behind him, someone watching him, someone he had known before he became the warrior he was now. Vegeta stopped training and looked behind him. Nobody was there. Then the gravity chamber lights flickered. For a fraction of a second, Vegeta saw a woman's reflection in the glass. He turned immediately. The room was empty. Vegeta's breathing became heavier. He walked toward the glass and touched it. Nothing happened. Then, without warning, a single word appeared on the surface. It wasn't written in Galactic Standard. It wasn't written in modern Saiyan. It was written in an ancient Saiyan script that Vegeta could barely understand. He recognized only one symbol: the royal crest. Under it was another symbol, a circle split by a vertical line. Vegeta had never seen it before, but somewhere deep inside his mind, he knew it. And then the lights went out. When they came back on, the writing was gone. Vegeta immediately contacted Bulma. She arrived with a scanner and began examining the glass. There was no physical mark, no chemical residue, no heat signature, nothing. Bulma asked Vegeta what exactly he had seen. He told her. She asked whether he was sure it wasn't a hallucination caused by exhaustion. Vegeta became annoyed and told her that he knew the difference between imagination and reality. Bulma apologized and began searching historical databases. She found nothing about the symbol. Then she searched older Saiyan records that had been recovered from the Galactic Patrol archives. Still nothing. Finally, she accessed a restricted archive containing information about the Saiyan royal family before Planet Vegeta. The system asked for authorization. Bulma entered her credentials. The screen went black. A message appeared. ACCSS deemed. Bulma frowned. She tried again. The message changed. Royal Memory AR-Skyve sealed. Vegeta stared at the screen. He had never known such an archive existed. And then another message appeared beneath it. Subject Prince Vegeta. Bulma froze. Vegeta stepped forward. The file wasn't about his combat records. It wasn't about his bloodline. It wasn't about his achievements. It was a memory file. And beside the file, name was a word Vegeta had never expected to see. Mother. Bulma immediately tried to open the file, but the archive rejected every command. The system didn't simply say the file was protected. It said the file had been deliberately removed. That distinction mattered. Someone hadn't locked the information away. Someone had erased it and left only a trace behind. Vegeta stared at the screen in silence. Bulma asked whether he wanted her to keep trying. Vegeta told her yes. He didn't care how long it took. For the first time since he had become a warrior, he wasn't searching for power. He was searching for a piece of himself. Bulma spent hours bypassing old security systems until she finally discovered that the archive wasn't stored on a normal computer. It was connected to a much older Saiyan memory system that had survived the destruction of Planet Vegeta because it had been transferred to a remote royal vault. The vault had been sealed decades before the planet was destroyed. Someone had known the Saiyans were going to lose everything. Someone had prepared a place for their history to survive. Bulma asked Vegeta whether his father had ever mentioned such a vault. Vegeta said no. That alone made him suspicious. They traveled to the location hidden inside the archive coordinates. It was not on Planet Vegeta, because Planet Vegeta was gone. The vault was located on a dead moon far outside the normal trade routes. Bulma and Vegeta arrived in a capsule and discovered an enormous underground structure buried beneath the surface. The entrance was marked with the same royal crest Vegeta had seen in the gravity chamber. Vegeta touched the door. Nothing happened. Then he placed his hand against the ancient symbol. The door opened instantly. Bulma looked at him. Vegeta didn't say anything. They entered. Inside, the walls were covered with Saiyan history. Battles, kings, wars, conquests, the evolution of Saiyan armor, the migration from one world to another. Vegeta expected to see his father everywhere. Instead, the deeper they went, the more often they saw the same woman. At first, she appeared only in the background of ancient paintings. Then she appeared beside King Vegeta. Then she appeared holding a young Saiyan child. The face was always damaged or deliberately removed, but Vegeta recognized the child. It was him. Bulma stared at the painting. Vegeta said nothing. The next image showed young Vegeta standing beside the woman. She was holding his hand. Vegeta's expression in the painting was completely different from the one he remembered from his childhood. He wasn't angry. He wasn't proud. He wasn't training. He was smiling. Bulma whispered that she had never seen Vegeta look like that. Vegeta stared at the painting. I don't remember this. The next painting showed the woman kneeling in front of young Vegeta. She appeared to be saying something to him. The artist had left the words in the ancient script. Bulma scanned them. The translation appeared slowly. Never become what they expect you to become. Vegeta's eyes narrowed. Then another line appeared. Your strength belongs to you. Vegeta stepped backward. He knew those words. Not consciously, but he had heard them before. Somewhere. A long time ago. Suddenly, the room changed. The ancient lights activated. A recording began playing. The woman's voice filled the chamber. Vegeta. Vegeta froze. Bulma looked at him. The recording continued. If you are hearing this, then something has happened to the royal family. Vegeta's fists tightened. The voice sounded calm, but there was fear underneath it. I don't know whether your father will ever allow you to hear this. I don't know whether the Saiyan royal line will survive. But if you are old enough to understand these words, then I need you to remember one thing. The recording paused. Your blood does not determine your destiny. Vegeta's eyes widened. His mother continued. You were born a prince, but you are not valuable because you are a prince. You are valuable because you are Vegeta. The recording suddenly distorted. Bulma tried to repair it. A second voice appeared. King Vegeta. Stop the recording. The system shut down. Vegeta stood completely still. Bulma asked whether he was okay. Vegeta answered that he was fine. He wasn't, because he had just heard his mother's voice for the first time in his life. And now he knew something even more disturbing. His father had deliberately stopped her message. They continued through the vault and discovered another chamber. Inside was a single chair facing a large circular wall. At the center of the wall was a symbol representing the Saiyan royal bloodline. Beneath it was a list of names. Every king, every prince, every queen. Vegeta scanned the list. His father's name was there. His own name was there. But his mother's name was missing. Instead, there was a blank space. Bulma asked why the name had been removed. Vegeta said someone had erased it. Then Bulma noticed something. The blank space wasn't random. It was the same size as another name. She reconstructed the missing characters. A name appeared. Valara. Vegeta stared at it. Valara. That was his mother's name. And then the chamber's security system activated. A warning appeared. Royal Memory Breach. Bulma looked at Vegeta. Someone knows we're here. A voice came from the darkness. No! Vegeta turned. Someone has been waiting for you to come here. The voice belonged to an old recording system hidden inside the chamber. It activated automatically when Vegeta's presence was detected. The figure that appeared on the projection was King Vegeta. He looked younger than the last time Vegeta remembered seeing him. His expression was serious. There was no pride in his face, no arrogance, only exhaustion. Vegeta watched his father appear before him after decades of believing that he had nothing left to say. King Vegeta began speaking about the royal family, but he never once mentioned Valara by name. Instead, he referred to her as the Queen. He explained that the Saiyan royal family had survived for generations because it understood one principle better than anyone else. Power was never permanent. Every king eventually fell. Every warrior eventually died. Every empire eventually disappeared. But the Saiyan royal family had discovered something that allowed them to maintain control even when individual rulers changed. They controlled the memory of the race. King Vegeta explained that the royal archives were not simply historical records. They were designed to preserve selected memories and remove others. The Saiyans believed that certain knowledge was too dangerous to become common knowledge. They had records of ancient transformations, forbidden techniques, destroyed civilizations, and even encounters with beings far stronger than Saiyans. Most of those records were hidden. But Valara had discovered that the royal family wasn't only hiding information from the Saiyan people. They were hiding information from their own children. King Vegeta admitted that Valara had opposed him. She believed the Saiyans were becoming dependent on the idea of superiority. She believed that the royal family was teaching generations of warriors to believe that their blood made them special. She wanted to change the system. She wanted Vegeta to grow up believing that being a prince was a responsibility rather than a privilege. King Vegeta refused. Their disagreement became worse when Valara discovered something about Frieza. She learned that Frieza had already decided the Saiyans were a threat. The royal family knew. King Vegeta knew. But Valara discovered something else. Frieza wasn't simply afraid of the Saiyan's potential. He had been told by someone that one particular Saiyan child would eventually become powerful enough to challenge him. Vegeta. King Vegeta had known about the prophecy. Valara wanted to hide Vegeta from Frieza. King Vegeta wanted to make Vegeta stronger. The two plans collided. King Vegeta believed that if Vegeta became powerful enough, Frieza would eventually fear him. Valara believed that if Vegeta became powerful enough too quickly, Frieza would kill him. They argued. Then Beerus entered the story. The recording showed King Vegeta meeting Beerus on a distant planet. Beerus appeared bored. King Vegeta was kneeling. Vegeta watched the scene in silence. Bulma whispered that Beerus had known his father. Vegeta said he already knew Beerus had visited the Saiyans. But this was different. King Vegeta was asking Beerus for something. Protection. Beerus refused. He said the Saiyan race wasn't important enough for him to interfere. King Vegeta then mentioned Valara. Beerus's expression changed. He asked whether she had discovered the truth. King Vegeta said yes. Beerus told him that if she had discovered it, then she was already in danger. The recording ended. Vegeta looked at Bulma. Truth about what? Bulma didn't know. They searched the vault again. Eventually, they found another room containing a single object, a small crystal. Bulma scanned it. The crystal contained energy unlike anything she had ever seen. Vegeta touched it. A memory appeared. Valara stood inside a dark room. She was speaking to someone. Vegeta couldn't see the person's face, but he recognized the voice. Beerus. Valara asked him why the gods were interested in the Saiyan royal family. Beerus told her they weren't. Valara said that was a lie. She had discovered records showing that the Saiyans had been observed by divine beings for generations. Beerus became serious. Valara asked him whether the Saiyans had been created for a purpose. Beerus didn't answer. She asked again. This time, Beerus told her to stop searching. Valara refused. She said she had found evidence that the Saiyans weren't simply a naturally evolved warrior race. Their history had been manipulated. Their transformations had been monitored. Their potential had been recorded. Beerus warned her that she was approaching information that even gods weren't permitted to discuss. Valara asked why. Beerus answered that some truths were dangerous simply because people believed they understood them. Valara said she wasn't afraid. Beerus replied that she should be. Then the memory ended. Vegeta stared at the crystal. He finally understood why his mother had disappeared. She hadn't been erased because she was unimportant. She had been erased because she had discovered something the gods wanted forgotten. And Beerus knew. Vegeta returned to Beerus's planet without telling him what he had discovered. Bulma wanted to come with him, but Vegeta insisted on going alone. He landed on the planet and found Beerus sleeping beneath a tree while Whis prepared food nearby. Everything looked normal. Vegeta stood there for several seconds before Beerus opened one eye. He immediately knew something was wrong. Beerus asked why Vegeta was there. Vegeta asked him a different question. Who was Valara? Beerus stopped moving. Whis looked at Vegeta. Then he looked at Beerus. The silence lasted several seconds. Beerus finally sat up. Where did you hear that name? Vegeta answered that it didn't matter. Beerus said it mattered very much. Vegeta demanded the truth. Beerus told him to leave. Vegeta refused. Beerus warned him that some questions were better left unanswered. Vegeta stepped forward. My entire life was built on lies. Beerus looked at him. Vegeta continued. My father lied to me. The Saiyans lied to me. The royal family erased her. And you knew her. Beerus became angry. He told Vegeta that he had no idea what he was talking about. Vegeta said he had seen the recording. Beerus's expression changed. Whis quietly put down his staff. Beerus asked which recording. Vegeta said all of them. The Queen. The Royal Archive. The meeting. The conversation. Everything. Beerus closed his eyes. When he opened them again, his usual arrogance was gone. He told Vegeta that Valara had been different from the other Saiyans. She wasn't the strongest. She wasn't the most famous. But she was intelligent enough to ask questions nobody else thought to ask. She had discovered that the Saiyans had been observed by the gods for a very long time. Not because the gods loved them. Because the Saiyans had an unusual ability. They adapted. Every time they survived something that should have killed them, they changed. Every time they encountered a stronger enemy, they evolved. Every generation became more dangerous. Beerus said that most gods considered this a natural trait. Valara didn't. She believed someone had influenced the Saiyans' evolution. Vegeta asked who. Beerus refused to answer. Vegeta threatened him. Beerus laughed. You still think anger can force the truth out of me? Vegeta's aura exploded. Beerus stood. For a moment, it looked like they were going to fight. Then Beerus said something Vegeta had never heard from him before. I was afraid of your mother. Vegeta's aura disappeared. Beerus continued. Not because she was stronger than me. She wasn't. I was afraid because she understood something I didn't want a mortal to understand. Vegeta asked what it was. Beerus said Valara discovered that the Saiyan royal bloodline had been altered generations ago. Vegeta stared at him. Beerus explained that the Saiyans had once been different. Their ability to adapt had been far weaker. Their rage was less destructive. Their transformations were different. Something had changed them. Vegeta asked who changed them. Beerus said he didn't know. Vegeta didn't believe him. Beerus admitted that he knew part of the answer. The gods had discovered an ancient energy source connected to mortal evolution. It wasn't a transformation. It wasn't a technique. It was a force that responded to survival. The gods had observed it because it could potentially produce mortals capable of reaching divine levels. Valara discovered the records. She believed the Saiyans were one of the races influenced by that experiment. Vegeta asked whether that meant his entire life was predetermined. Beerus said no. Valara had proven that the Saiyans eventually evolved beyond whatever had originally been intended for them. That was what frightened the gods. Vegeta asked why she disappeared. Beerus looked away, because she found the part of the record that said what would happen if a Saiyan ever surpassed the limit. Vegeta asked what it said. Beerus didn't answer. Vegeta demanded it. Beerus finally spoke. It said the Saiyan would no longer be controlled by the system that created him. Vegeta's eyes widened. Beerus continued. Your mother believed you might be that Saiyan. Vegeta asked whether she had predicted him. Beerus said she didn't predict Vegeta's exact future. She believed that one of her children would eventually break the pattern. That was why she wanted Vegeta to grow differently. That was why she told him his blood didn't determine his destiny. And that was why King Vegeta feared her influence. Vegeta asked whether his father had her killed. Beerus remained silent. Vegeta's expression changed. Did he? Beerus finally answered. No. Vegeta looked surprised. Beerus said King Vegeta didn't kill her. Someone else did, and Beerus had arrived too late. Beerus told Vegeta the truth he had avoided for decades. Valara had not died when planet Vegeta was destroyed. She had disappeared long before that. She had discovered evidence that the Saiyan royal family had been watched by divine observers and that someone was interested in Vegeta's potential. She attempted to leave the planet with her son. King Vegeta stopped her. He believed she was putting Vegeta at greater risk. The argument became so intense that Valara eventually left the palace alone. She never returned. Vegeta asked where she went. Beerus said she went to an ancient Saiyan temple located on the edge of the galaxy. She believed the temple contained the original record of the Saiyan bloodline. Beerus followed her. When he arrived, she was already inside. The temple was unlike anything Beerus had seen before. The walls were covered with symbols that predated the Saiyan royal family. Valara was standing before a giant stone structure. Beerus told her to stop. She refused. She had discovered the final record. The Saiyans had not been created by the gods. They had evolved naturally. But thousands of years earlier, a group of divine observers had interfered with their evolution, not to create them, to accelerate them. The purpose was to see whether mortal life could eventually produce beings capable of reaching divine power without divine training. The experiment was abandoned, but the Saiyans continued evolving. Valara realized what that meant. The Saiyans weren't an experiment anymore. They had become something the gods hadn't intended. Beerus told her to leave. She asked him whether he was afraid. Beerus said no. She smiled. You are. Beerus admitted that he was. Then the temple shook. Something had awakened. A massive energy appeared beneath the ground. Valara told Beerus that this was the reason the records had been hidden. The ancient Saiyans had discovered something about their own evolution that the gods had missed. The stronger a Saiyan became, the more independent his energy became from the natural rules that governed mortal beings. That was why Saiyans could transform. That was why their bodies adapted. That was why their power could explode after surviving near-death situations. Their bodies weren't simply recovering. They were rewriting themselves. Beerus realized what Valara was saying. If a Saiyan continued evolving long enough, eventually the process would become impossible to control. Valara believed Vegeta had that potential. But then something attacked the temple. A being made entirely of energy appeared. Beerus fought it. Valara protected the record. The battle destroyed the temple. Beerus eventually defeated the creature, but the ancient record was damaged. Valara was injured. Beerus carried her outside. She asked him to take her to Vegeta. Beerus said it was too dangerous. Valara told him that if he cared about Vegeta at all, he had to promise something. Never tell Vegeta the truth until he was ready to hear it. Beerus promised. Then Valara disappeared. Not because Beerus killed her, because she used the ancient energy to remove herself from the system. She believed someone would come looking for her. She was right. The gods came. They demanded that Beerus explain what happened. Beerus lied. He told them Valara had died. The gods accepted the answer, but Beerus knew she hadn't. She had hidden herself somewhere beyond ordinary space. Vegeta asked whether she was still alive. Beerus said he didn't know. Vegeta became furious. You knew she might be alive and never told me? Beerus said he had no proof. Vegeta asked whether he had ever searched. Beerus didn't answer. Vegeta understood. Beerus had searched. For years. Maybe centuries. Maybe longer. But he had never found her. Then Whis interrupted. Actually? Beerus looked at him. Whis continued. There is one thing you should know. Beerus told him not to. Whis ignored him. He told Vegeta that the angelic records contained one unexplained event from decades ago. A Saiyan energy signature had appeared outside the known universe. It had lasted for exactly 7 seconds. Then it disappeared. Vegeta asked when. Whis gave him the date. It was the same day planet Vegeta was destroyed. Vegeta froze. His mother may have survived. She may have escaped. And she may have been watching. Whis said there was one more detail. The energy signature had not been alone. There was another energy beside it, a Saiyan child. Vegeta's heart stopped. He asked who the child was. Whis answered, Trunks. Vegeta stared at him. Then Whis corrected himself. No. He looked at Vegeta. The signature wasn't from the present. It was from the future. Vegeta couldn't understand what Whis had just said. A Saiyan energy signature had appeared outside the known universe on the day planet Vegeta was destroyed, and according to the angelic records, another signature had appeared beside it. Whis believed the second energy belonged to a Saiyan child from the future. Vegeta immediately thought of Trunks, but Whis explained that it wasn't Trunks. The energy signature was similar, but not identical. It belonged to someone who had not yet been born. Vegeta asked how that was possible. Whis explained that time in the Dragon Ball universe was more complicated than mortals realized. The existence of multiple timelines meant that an event could sometimes leave an energy imprint before it happened. Most beings couldn't detect those imprints. Angels could. The signature suggested that someone from Vegeta's bloodline had been present during the disappearance of his mother. Vegeta demanded to see the record. Whis took him to the angelic archive. The record was tiny, only 7 seconds. But when they played it, Vegeta heard a voice. His mother's voice. Vegeta, if you ever hear this, then you survived. The recording continued. I couldn't return to you. Vegeta's eyes widened. I wanted to. Every day. But if I returned, they would find you. The recording distorted. I need you to understand something. Your father wasn't the reason I left. Vegeta's fists tightened. He was trying to protect you in the only way he knew how. The recording paused. Your father believed power would save you. Another pause. I believed understanding would. Vegeta looked down. The voice continued. You will eventually meet people who are stronger than you. Gods, angels, mortals, enemies, friends. You will lose to some of them. You may even fear some of them. The recording became weaker. But never allow fear to decide who you become. Vegeta's eyes became wet. He didn't cry. He refused to. But for the first time, he understood why those words felt familiar. His entire life, he had been fighting fear. Fear of weakness. Fear of humiliation. Fear of being inferior to Goku. Fear of becoming irrelevant. Fear of losing his family. Fear of becoming the same kind of monster his father had been. His mother had known. She had understood him before he had even become the man he was. The recording ended. Vegeta asked whether Whis knew where she was. Whis said no, but the message contained a hidden coordinate, a coordinate that led outside Universe 7. Beerus immediately said they couldn't go. Vegeta ignored him. He asked Whis to open the portal. Whis looked at Beerus. Beerus closed his eyes. Then he said something that surprised Vegeta. I'm coming. Vegeta looked at him. Beerus said that if Valara was alive, he needed to know what she had discovered. They traveled through the portal. The destination was a strange planet surrounded by enormous rings of energy. There was no civilization, no cities, no animals, only an ancient structure. At its center stood a woman. Vegeta stopped breathing. She turned. Her face was older than the image in the archive, but Vegeta recognized her instantly, not because he remembered her face, because something inside him did. His mother, Valara. For several seconds, neither moved. Vegeta wanted to speak. Nothing came out. Valara looked at him. Then she smiled. You became exactly what I hoped you wouldn't become. Vegeta's expression hardened. Valara laughed softly. And exactly what I knew you could become. Vegeta finally spoke. Why did you leave me? Valara didn't answer immediately. She looked at Beerus, then at Whis, then back at Vegeta. Because I was told that if I stayed, you would die. Vegeta asked who told her. Valara said she couldn't tell him. Vegeta became angry. After everything, she still refused to answer. Valara understood his anger. She told him that she had spent decades watching him from a distance. She had seen him become a warrior. She had seen him serve Frieza. She had seen him fight Goku. She had seen him become a husband, a father, a protector. She had watched him change, and she had been proud. Vegeta asked why she never came back. Valara said because she had been hunted, not by Frieza, not by Saiyans, by something older. The same force that had manipulated Saiyan evolution. She had discovered that it wasn't simply an experiment, it was a test. The gods had been waiting to see whether mortals could eventually surpass the limits imposed on them, and the Saiyans were the closest anyone had come. Valara said Vegeta was not the chosen one. Neither was Goku. The Saiyans had no chosen one. Their entire race had the potential. That was the truth the gods feared. Vegeta asked why Beerus had been involved. Valara looked at him. Because Beerus was the first god who realized that Saiyans might one day become impossible to control. Beerus looked away. Vegeta understood. This wasn't about his mother alone. It was about the entire Saiyan race. Valara showed Vegeta the final record. It revealed that the Saiyans had once possessed a philosophy completely different from the one taught under King Vegeta. They believed strength was not inherited. It was earned. Royal blood didn't make someone superior. The strongest warrior wasn't necessarily the best leader. A king was supposed to protect the weakest member of the race, not rule over them. Over generations, those teachings had disappeared. The royal family had transformed the idea of Saiyan strength into a hierarchy. Vegeta's father had inherited that system. Vegeta had inherited it from him, and Goku had unknowingly challenged it simply by refusing to care about royal blood. Valara told Vegeta that was why Goku had changed him. Vegeta denied it. Valara smiled. "You hate hearing that." Vegeta said Goku was his rival. Valara said rivals were sometimes the people who changed us the most. Beerus listened silently. Valara then revealed something that surprised everyone. She had known about Goku long before Vegeta met him. The Saiyan, who arrived on Earth as a baby, had been part of the same phenomenon. Goku and Vegeta were not connected because of destiny. They were connected because they represented two different paths of Saiyan evolution. Goku had abandoned the royal ideology completely. Vegeta had carried it for most of his life. Yet both had reached divine power. That was what Valara had wanted to see, whether Saiyans could reach the gods without becoming gods. Vegeta asked what would happen if they did. Valara answered that nothing would happen, and that was exactly what terrified the gods. If mortals could reach divine power while remaining mortal, then the separation between gods and mortals would become meaningless. Beerus finally spoke. "That doesn't mean they should challenge us." Valara looked at him. "They already have." Beerus didn't respond. Goku had fought Beerus. Vegeta had trained under Whis. Mortals had already entered territory once considered divine. The difference was that the gods had survived because they were still stronger. But the gap was shrinking. Valara told Vegeta that she didn't want him to become a god. She didn't want him to become the strongest. She wanted him to understand that he didn't need permission from the universe to become who he wanted. Vegeta asked why she had hidden for so long. Valara said she was waiting for him to stop being the boy who wanted his father's approval. Vegeta became silent. She told him that the last thing she wanted was for him to spend his entire life proving that he was worthy of being a prince. He had already proven it. Now he needed to decide what kind of man he wanted to be. Vegeta looked at Beerus, then at Whis, then at his mother. He finally understood something. His entire life had been a battle against expectations. Frieza expected him to serve. His father expected him to rule. The Saiyans expected him to conquer. Goku challenged him to surpass him. Even Beerus expected him to become stronger. But nobody had ever asked him what he wanted. Until now. Vegeta told his mother that he wanted to protect his family. He wanted to become stronger. He wanted to surpass Goku. He wanted to fight. He wanted to win. But he no longer wanted strength because he was afraid of being weak. Valara smiled. "That is the Vegeta I was waiting to see." Then the planet shook. A massive energy appeared above them. Beerus immediately sensed it. Whis raised his staff. Valara told Vegeta they had been found. The being that had hunted her for decades had finally arrived. A massive dark structure appeared in the sky. It wasn't a spaceship. It wasn't a planet. It was a fragment of something much larger. Beerus looked at it. He knew what it was. He told Vegeta to leave. Vegeta refused. Beerus ordered him. Vegeta refused again. Then Beerus smiled. "Fine." The battle began. Valara fought beside Vegeta. Beerus attacked from above. Whis stabilized the planet. The enemy released waves of energy that distorted space. Vegeta transformed. Super Saiyan Blue. Then Ultra Ego. His power exploded. But the enemy didn't care. It wasn't trying to defeat Vegeta. It was trying to erase his potential. Vegeta realized what was happening. The enemy wasn't attacking his body. It was attacking the future versions of him. Every transformation he might have achieved was being destroyed before it could happen. Vegeta roared. He refused. He remembered his father. "Frieza! Goku, Bulma, Trunks, Bulla, his mother. Every person who had changed him, his power surged again. Not because he transformed, because he refused to let someone else decide what he could become. Valara watched. She finally understood. The prophecy had never been about one Saiyan becoming the strongest. It was about a Saiyan becoming impossible to control. And Vegeta had just become that Saiyan. The battle ended when Vegeta stopped trying to overpower the enemy. Instead, he allowed its attack to reach him. Ultra Ego absorbed the destructive force while Vegeta redirected the energy through his own body. Beerus realized what Vegeta was doing. He was using destruction energy without allowing it to define him. The technique was dangerous, but Vegeta had learned enough from Beerus to control it. He didn't become a god of destruction. He became something different, immortal using divine power without surrendering his identity. The enemy began collapsing. Valara used the ancient Saiyan energy to seal it away. Beerus finished the process with Hawkeye. The sky returned to normal. Vegeta stood there, exhausted. Valara walked toward him. She told him that she couldn't return to Earth permanently. Vegeta asked why. She said because there were still beings watching. If she returned, they would follow. Vegeta became angry again. He told her that he had spent his entire life without her. She knew. He told her that she had missed everything. She knew. He told her that he didn't care about the gods, the prophecy, the Saiyan bloodline, or the ancient records. He simply wanted his mother back. Valara looked at him. Then she hugged him. Vegeta froze. He had almost forgotten what it felt like. He didn't move. For several seconds, he simply stood there. Then he closed his eyes. He didn't say anything. He didn't need to. Valara whispered that she had always been proud of him. Vegeta finally answered, "I know." It was the first time in his life that he believed it. Beerus watched from a distance. Whis stood beside him. Whis asked whether Beerus regretted hiding the truth. Beerus said yes. Whis asked whether he would do it differently. Beerus thought for a moment. Then he said that if he could go back, he would still protect Valara, but he would tell Vegeta sooner. Whis smiled. That sounds almost like character development. Beerus told him to shut up. Back on Earth, Vegeta returned to Capsule Corporation. Bulma immediately noticed something was different. She asked what happened. Vegeta said nothing. She asked whether he found his mother. Vegeta nodded. Bulma smiled. Then she asked whether his mother was coming to Earth. Vegeta shook his head. Bulma understood. She didn't ask more. Instead, she walked toward him and hugged him. Vegeta didn't complain. Trunks came into the room. Bulla followed. They asked what happened. Vegeta looked at his children. For the first time, he saw his family differently. His mother had disappeared because she wanted to protect him. Now he understood that protecting someone didn't always mean standing beside them. Sometimes it meant giving them the chance to become themselves. Vegeta looked at Trunks, then at Bulla. He realized he had been given the opportunity his mother never had. He could be present. He could tell them who they were. He could let them become whatever they wanted. He didn't have to repeat the mistakes of the royal family. Later that evening, Vegeta returned to the gravity chamber. He stood in front of the glass, the same place where he had first seen his mother's reflection. He closed his eyes. Nothing happened. Then he opened them. For a moment, he thought he saw her. Not as a ghost, not as a vision, just a reflection, a memory, a reminder. Vegeta smiled slightly. Then he began training. Not because he needed to prove himself, because he wanted to. And somewhere far away, beyond the boundaries of Universe 7, Valara watched the stars. She knew Vegeta would continue growing. She knew he would fight Goku again. She knew he would lose. She knew he would win. She knew he would become stronger. But now she also knew something more important. He would not become King Vegeta. He would not become Frieza. He would not become Beerus. He would become Vegeta. The story should have ended there. But it didn't. Because Beerus still possessed one final secret. The secret he had refused to tell Vegeta. After everyone returned to Earth, Beerus entered the oldest chamber on his planet. Whis followed him. Beerus opened a sealed container that hadn't been touched in millions of years. Inside was a single piece of Saiyan armor. It belonged to Valara. Beerus picked it up. Whis asked why he had kept it. Beerus said because Valara had given it to him the day she disappeared. Whis asked whether there was anything inside. Beerus said no. Then the armor began glowing. Both of them froze. A symbol appeared, the same symbol Vegeta had seen in the gravity chamber. The circle split by a vertical line. Whis looked at Beerus. Beerus stared at the symbol. Then a voice came from the armor. Valara. Beerus. Beerus didn't move. If you are hearing this, then Vegeta has finally discovered the truth. Beerus closed his eyes. The recording continued. There is one more thing I never told him. Whis looked at Beerus. The voice became quieter. Vegeta was never the only child I was protecting. Beerus opened his eyes. The recording ended. Whis stared at him. Beerus slowly turned toward the stars. For the first time, he looked genuinely unsettled. Because somewhere in the universe, another member of the Saiyan royal bloodline might still be alive. Someone Vegeta had never known existed. Someone Valara had spent her entire life hiding. And if that person had inherited the same potential as Vegeta, then the secret Beerus had just spent decades protecting was no longer a secret. It was a warning. But Beerus didn't tell Vegeta. Not yet. Because this time, he wanted Vegeta to hear the truth from the person who had hidden it. And as Beerus looked into the darkness, he finally understood something Valara had known all along. The Saiyans were never dangerous because they were the strongest warriors. They were dangerous because every time the universe tried to decide what they were supposed to become, they found a way to become something else. Vegeta had spent his entire life trying to become the greatest Saiyan. His mother had wanted something different. She wanted him to become himself. And now, he finally had. The prince had stopped fighting for a crown. The warrior had stopped fighting for approval. The father had stopped repeating the mistakes of his own father. And the Saiyan, who once believed his blood was his destiny, finally understood the truth. His mother had tried to give him when he was only a child. Blood could tell him where he came from. It could never tell him where he was going. And for Vegeta, that was the greatest gift his mother could have left behind. Not a new transformation, not a hidden power, not a royal secret. A choice, his own choice. The choice to become Vegeta. And somewhere in the distance, Goku was already waiting for their next fight. Vegeta smiled, because there was still one thing his mother hadn't changed. He still intended to surpass him.